Your next question, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Banfield, we left off, and I had asked you the question on February 24th, 2023, had you touched anyone's devices other than yours?
No, I had not.
And had you specifically touched the laptop that you know was Christine's laptop that she used for work?
No, I did not.
Or her phone?
No, I didn't touch either the laptop or her phone.
Now, we were speaking about February 24th, 2023 at the time that we broke for the night last night. One of the things that I wanted to get into, and it will require us to go back, Juliana Perez Magalhaes was your au pair, correct?
Yes.
And she worked through a company, correct?
Yes.
And what were the limitations in terms of what she could do in terms of work, and how long could she stay?
In general, she could work, I believe, 45 hours a week. Her term for how long she could stay, she had a contract with us for a year.
Okay. And at the time that you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you and she started a relationship, had she wanted to extend at that point?
She had already extended her visa for a second year. So I believe it was October of 21 that she came for her first year, and then she extended for a second year, which would have gone to October of 23. But no, she had not indicated anything about extending further.
Okay.
And she couldn't be extended further as an au pair at that point, is my understanding.
But when she first came, she was, how long was she supposed to be staying?
1 year.
Okay. And there came a time where she requested to extend. When did that happen in terms of the time frame we're talking about?
Maybe that summer, that summer of 22.
22. Okay. Would that have been prior to the two of you, your relationship changing?
I believe it had been discussed prior to that, but I don't know that decisions were made.
Okay. Now, as part of her cultural care obligations or your obligations, what did you have to do on your side to assist her?
I didn't do anything to assist her. Christine was the one that handled all the cultural care forms, payments.
Okay.
Whether or not to extend or I didn't do anything with that process really.
Okay. And so that was pretty much mainly Christine, is that correct?
Yeah, I believe that she had all the contact with, I don't know the exact title, but the person that manages the au pairs.
Okay. Well, then if she had done that, then I won't ask you any further questions about that. Now, we were previously talking about February 24th, 2023. And I think you had described for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you had come back from the McDonald's, correct?
Yes.
And when you arrived back from the McDonald's, who did you see there?
Valerie and Juliana were at my white Ford Fusion vehicle. They were parked in the cul-de-sac kind of in front of my neighbor's house, just outside my driveway.
And do you recall, was the car running? Were they in the car? Were they out of the car?
They were in the car at that point. I don't recall if it was running. It's a hybrid, so you don't necessarily hear the engine when it's kind of in idle.
Okay. And when you approached Juliana, what, if anything, did you do?
I asked her if the person just went into the house, as that was a question from previously, and she had indicated yes.
Okay. And was there a specific, at that point, did you know how the person got into the house?
I knew that they got into the house through the front door, but I didn't know more than that. It sounded to me at that point that they just went into the house without delay, I guess.
Okay. In terms of what you were told by others?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you do at that point?
I told Juliana to stay at the car.
Okay. And what about regard to Valerie?
I didn't address Valerie specifically, but they were in the car, and I had just told Juliana specifically to stay at the car.
In doing that, was it your intent that she would stay with Valerie?
Yes.
Okay. At that point, after you told her that, what did you do?
I walked partially down my driveway. My driveway is kind of a little bit long because it splits between me and my neighbor's driveway. And this was so that I could see a little bit better of what was going on. And this is when I saw a silver Jeep in the driveway, and that my front door was closed.
Now, so at this point, knowing what you know at the point that you saw the silver Jeep, how did that make you feel, and what were you concerned about at that point?
I guess it made me very anxious. I didn't know what was going on. I had concerns that this was going to be an affair, but I didn't know really what was going on at that point.
Okay. Did you think to call 911 at that point?
I didn't think that, it wasn't on my mind at this point that this was some type of violent or threatening encounter.
Okay. So what, if anything, did you do at that point?
I didn't continue going down the driveway. I basically made a right, which would be over the grass of my property, and headed towards my back fence.
Okay. Now, but you were closer to the front door, is that correct?
Yes, I was closer to the front door at that point.
Okay. Why didn't you go through the front door?
My front door has a electronic door lock. You would enter a code in order to gain access to the door, and every button that you push makes a beeping noise, and then the deadbolt makes a mechanical noise as it unlocks. It makes quite a bit of noise, and I didn't want all of that noise.
And what was your concern if there was going to be noise in the front area of your house?
I didn't know what was going on. If there was an affair going on, I didn't want to alert it at that point. I also thought about just getting the lunches for Valerie and Juliana that they were missing and leaving. That was also a thought.
Okay. Now, you're talking about the lunches. Why do you say that?
Juliana had informed me that she did not bring the lunches that she was going to take to the zoo for her and Juliana, for her and Valerie.
Okay. And moving forward, did you ultimately find those lunches in the refrigerator?
Yes, they were in I believe, the upper left of the refrigerator.
Okay. So if you can, for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, give them an idea of from the front door, and I think it shows in some of the body-worn camera, but if you could explain it, the front door and the noise from the front door was a concern to you. Why, based on the layout of the house?
So the front door kind of leads to the foyer. The foyer is 2 levels and goes to, basically it's echoes right to the top of the stairs. The stairs are immediately to the right of the front door. And when, if you were to go up the stairs, the hallway is open to the foyer.
And is it easy to hear what happens at the front door?
Basically, everywhere on the main level can hear when the front door beeps and unlocks.
Okay, so we left off where you were going around the back to the backyard.
Yes.
What, if anything, did you do at that point?
I unlocked my back gate. There's a carabiner latch on there to make sure that the dog does not unlatch it. So I unlatched that carabiner and reclosed the gate, and then headed around back to my back basement door.
Okay, and did you access the house?
Yes, I unlocked the door, and while I was unlocking the door, my dog was in the basement, which is unusual, as the basement has a door that's pretty much always closed. So my dog Lily doesn't have access to the basement normally, and she was jumping up and down at the back door when I was going down there.
Now let's just talk about the locked door from the back where you came in. How did you access that?
With my key.
Okay, and in general, were your doors locked when you left the house?
Yes.
Okay, was that something that you took care to make sure of?
And the basement door wasn't used. The basement door wasn't used too frequently, so it remained locked almost all the time. Sometimes the back door by the deck, sometimes that would be forgotten to be unlocked, because that's the door that we let the dog in and out of 20 times a day.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I interrupted you. So you were in the basement and you were there with your dog. What's your dog's name?
Lily.
And what, if anything, did you notice about Lily's behavior when you went into the basement?
Lily was kind of frantic, is how I would describe it. She's normally pretty calm when members of the family come home. She'll just normally greet you and go about her business. She's not a young dog, but she was jumping up and down, and as it went in, she was spinning in circles and whining and I guess kind of chattering. She doesn't really bark. She kind of howls and moans and growls in terms of her communication.
Okay, and was she doing those things?
Yes.
And I think you indicated that there was a gate between the basement and the upstairs. Is that correct?
Well, when I mentioned the gate, that meant the gate to the backyard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But when I entered the basement, there was also I guess a baby gate, but we used the gate for the dog, but not really all the time. The gate was blocking the stairs to go upstairs. The gate is, sometimes we would use it outside at the back deck to prevent the dog from going downstairs if it was particularly muddy out, or sometimes when some of the older members of our family were at the house, we would block the stairs going upstairs so that Lily would not bump into some of the older members of our family that aren't as stable. But the gate wasn't generally in use. The gate was usually in my garage and Lily would have access to the main floor of the house and the upstairs of the house generally.
And there's a dog bed in your bedroom, is that correct?
Yes.
Would Lily have access to that part of the house?
Yes, Lily would have access to my bedroom generally at all points. She would generally sleep in my room.
Okay. Now, and likewise, would she have access to what was Juliana's room and Valerie's room and all the other rooms?
She didn't normally have access to Juliana's room because Juliana kept her door closed all the time. She did have access to Valerie's room, but she didn't tend to go into Valerie's room unless someone else was also in Valerie's room.
Okay. Now, so you're in the basement, and what happened next?
As I was opening the basement door, I kind of, I guess, shooed Lily inside. She was kind of in the way of me going inside. But I saw that Juliana and Valerie were coming down the brick path, maybe 20, 30 feet away, after I had opened the door. And Juliana was carrying Valerie and had followed me.
And after your last discussion with Juliana, had you communicated with her in any way to come down to the house?
I never told her to come down to the house.
Okay. So your previous statement of stay in the car was still standing, I guess?
I believed that it was. That was how I ended my conversation with her, was for her to stay in the car.
Okay. So when they got to the basement, what, if anything, did you do?
I allowed them access to the basement. I had the door, I guess, partially open for them. And then as they came in, I closed the door behind them.
Okay. And did you indicate to Juliana and Valerie anything relating to where they should stay?
We had a conversation in the basement. Again, I had searched the basement a little bit, and there's mainly one large room in the basement. There's also a bedroom, but in the large room where the couches are and the TV is, and there was workout equipment in there at that point. I looked around that room for a little bit and didn't see anybody. Very short time. But
and why were you looking around the basement?
Well, I thought that there was somebody in the house, but I didn't know where that person was.
Okay. And so in terms of your search of the basement, did you do it like a law enforcement officer?
I would say that it was a quick search. The lights were off in the basement when I arrived, and I didn't hear any people or movement in the basement other than ourselves and the dog. So okay. I wouldn't say, I didn't go into like the bedroom closet in the basement or check behind the shower curtain. I didn't do things like that in terms of a search. So, but I did, I guess, walk the main room. There wasn't anyone by the couches. There wasn't anyone by my desk, things like that.
Okay. And were those all in the open area?
Yes.
And did you look into any of the other areas? I mean,
I did open the bedroom door that's in the basement. And I also didn't observe anyone there.
Okay. So whatever concern that caused you to do that, you didn't have that any further, correct?
I did not have further concern that there was someone else in the basement that shouldn't be there.
Okay, so what, if anything, did you do next? And frankly, what instructions did you have for Juliana and Valerie?
So I instructed Juliana, well, actually Valerie looked nervous. She was kind of wide-eyed looking at me, and I knelt down to her, and I told her to stay there with Juliana, and she said, "Okay, Daddy."
And so at that point, when you were in the basement, was there anything that caused your concern level to change from when you previously testified that you were outside?
It bothered me that the dog was in the basement, as she's not normally there, but I guess I was glad that she was in the basement at that point, with Juliana and Valerie. Valerie loves Lily a lot and spends quite a lot of time with her. But it was also weird going back to Lily, it was also weird that Lily's food bowl was in the basement, and it was spilled all over the floor. I think that also shows that Lily was in a bit of a frantic state.
And so where would Lily normally eat her food?
Her dog bowl is always in the living room. Her dog bowl is always in the dining room, where there's placemats for the dog on the floor, and that's where her water and food bowl are.
So the basement level is the lower level, correct?
Yes.
Where would that level that you're saying where Lily normally eats be?
That would be on the main level of the house, where the living room, kitchen, dining room is.
Okay, and as you walk up the stairs from the basement, can you give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some indication as to what direction you would go to find that?
So if you go up the basement stairs, there's a door that would need to be opened. Facing away from the basement stairs to the left would be the stairs to go up. Kind of directly in front of you would be a half bathroom. Slightly to the right would be I guess a very, very short hallway, only a couple feet. To the right would lead to the living room. To the left, so walking down that very, very short hallway, to the right would be the living room. To the left would be the kitchen, and through the through the doorway of the kitchen would be, the dining room where Lily's food bowl would be.
At some point, did you leave the basement?
Yes, after I spoke to Juliana and Valerie, I stepped over the dog gate and climbed the stairs.
Okay, so the dog gate was still in place?
Yes.
Did Lily attempt to follow?
No.
Okay, so
she can't jump over the gate. So
explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, to go up to the next level, was it one flight of stairs, 2 flights of stairs?
I mean, I would call it one flight of stairs, but it's, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 stairs, and then a small landing, and then 7 or 8 stairs again to the door.
Okay, and the door would be the door to the basement?
Yes.
Okay, so did you go up that basement stairs?
Yes, I did.
And what, if anything, were you intending on doing when you went up there?
Finding out what was going on in my house.
Okay. When you got to that level, who was there?
When I went up the stairs, I closed the basement door behind me. I did not immediately see anybody on the main floor of my house. And I walked down that very short hallway past the half bathroom so that I could see into the living room and the kitchen area, of which I did not see anybody.
Okay, and was that a full search or just in the moment?
I guess I walked past the kitchen table, and I walked past the countertop and also looked in the dining room. So I would say that I looked on the main floor of the house.
So you didn't see anyone on the main floor of the house?
No.
Did you hear anyone?
While I was looking on the main floor of the house, I heard sounds from upstairs.
Okay, and what, if anything, did you do at that point?
I moved closer to the upstairs. I moved closer to the upstairs stairs, to the stairs heading upstairs, but still on the main floor of the house.
Okay, and was that a better position to hear or know what's going on?
That's where the sound seemed to be coming from. There's regular ceiling over the kitchen and living room area, but in the foyer area that leads to upstairs, which is where I heard the sounds coming from.
Okay, and what, if anything, did you hear?
I heard the sounds of, I would say, moaning, as well as sound of skin on skin contact.
And what did you think was going on at that point?
Sex.
Okay. Why didn't you call 911 at that point?
Well, I believe that it was an affair that was going on at that point. That doesn't seem like an emergency for the police to be involved in, was my thought at that moment.
Okay. Now, what were you thinking at that point when you decided what that was?
I guess I was emotional at that point. While Christine and I had affairs, we had never seen each other with anyone. No one was ever caught in the act or anything like that. Hearing what I thought was sex was upsetting.
So what were you thinking to do? What was your thought process at that point?
I thought about just getting the lunches and giving them to Valerie and Juliana and having them leave. I thought about just ignoring the situation and going to work and dealing with this after work, hopefully when no one else is there. I thought about how Christine had just taken off the day before because she was originally supposed to be working on the 24th. And I thought about, well, this seems to be why. I thought about, well, maybe this is why she took off on the 24th.
Okay.
Because I didn't know that she took off on the 24th until the night of the 23rd.
So what made you stop from your initial thought of leaving and getting the lunches and letting Juliana and Valerie go to the zoo?
I guess as my mind was kind of racing in this moment, the sound, I guess, sounded like it changed to me. Instead of what I thought was the sounds of sex, I thought that the impact sounds sounded forceful, and that Christine's moaning sounded painful and not pleasurable, and that the distance between the sound of the skin-on-skin contact sounded too far apart for sex, and I thought that maybe she was being hurt.
So what did you do?
I started to go up the stairs.
Okay. Did you draw your weapon at any point?
While I was walking up the stairs, I did unholster my weapon, and I angled my body going up the stairs so that I was facing the bedroom door, which once you go up several of the stairs, I can see, because I'm taller, but I could see the bedroom door was partially open, maybe 8 to 12 inches, something like that, but I couldn't really see in the door.
But you could, were you able to determine whether that was the area where these sounds were coming from?
That is, I could tell that was the direction of the sound was coming from the master bedroom area. That's the only door towards the left once you go upstairs.
Okay. When you, from the main landing by the front door, to get to the top level, describe for the ladies and gentlemen, the jury, the level that you're talking about where the sounds were coming from.
So once again, you would go up several stairs, and then there would be a small landing, and then you would go up one step to another small landing, in which then you would kind of U-turn or switch back and go up another 8 or 9 stairs to the top floor. I don't know exactly how many stairs, maybe 16 or 18 total, but like 8 at the bottom, and then the landing, then 8 at the top, and then you're at the upstairs hallway.
Okay. Given what you'd heard, did you go right into the room?
Actually, I heard the door open on the main floor. When I was by the landing. When I heard the door open on the main floor, I saw Juliana come up partially at the basement door.
Okay, and so you were both on the same level at that point?
No, I was on the stairs, heading up the stairs, and I kind of only did a quick glance, seeing that Juliana was there, and then I continued up the stairs.
And did you give her any instructions as to whether to go back to the basement?
I didn't say anything to her.
Okay, so you continued on?
Yes.
But you realized she was there?
I did.
What, if anything, did you do next?
I continued up the stairs and made a left towards the master bedroom.
Okay, and in terms of the landing where the master bedroom is located, describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what way you had to go from the top of the stairs.
I went to the left, as that's the way towards the master bedroom. There's double doors to the master bedroom. To the right would be a bathroom, the guest room, Valerie's bedroom, and Juliana's bedroom.
So you went left at this point?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did you do at that point outside the room?
Outside the room, I headed towards the door, and I pushed the right of the double doors open with my foot.
And did you otherwise have something in your hands?
Yes, I had my firearm in my hands.
Okay. And when you pushed with your foot, which foot was it?
My right foot.
Okay. And were you able to see or hear any more when you did that?
Pushing the door open with my right foot revealed Christine, and who I now know is Joseph Ryan. They were on the floor near the bottom left of my bed, kind of in front of the master bathroom door, just past the bed, in between the bed and the tall dresser.
Okay. So you just described it as the bottom left. Describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, how do you come to bottom left? What position are you in order to describe it that way? If you're in the bed.
Yes, if you were in the bed or facing the TV that's in there, the left would be the bottom left corner. That would be the part that's closest to the master bathroom.
Okay, thank you. And so you indicated you saw Joseph Ryan and Christine.
Yes.
Had you ever seen Joseph Ryan before?
I had never seen Joseph Ryan before.
Had you ever had any communications with him before?
On February 24th is the only time I had communications with him in that room.
Okay, so when you observed this, and please tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury exactly what you observed with regard to his contact with Christine.
Christine was, I would describe as nude and on all fours, on her hands and knees. And Joe Ryan was behind her, like angled slightly behind her, and from my position at the door, slightly to the left of her. He was clothed, and he was looking directly at me as I opened the door.
And when you first caught eye contact with him, where exactly were you in relation to the bed, and where were they?
No, I was maybe one step into the room.
Okay. Now, when you observed him, what, if anything, did you observe about the situation prior to anything being said?
I observed, basically, as soon as I went in the room, it appeared that Christine tried to get up, but I guess I'm unsure if it's that Christine tried to get up or if Joe Ryan pulled her up. It's hard. I can't really tell, but Christine went from being on all fours, hands and knees, to more like being on her knees.
Now, had you said anything to them or to him specifically?
Almost immediately, I said police.
Okay, and what was your intention in doing that?
Alerting the room that I was there.
Okay, and at the time that you said police, was your gun in plain sight?
Yes, I was holding my gun forward.
And your badge, was that in plain sight?
My badge is on my belt, so that could. I don't know if he could see it, but it is. Okay. It is a gold badge that is attached to my belt.
And so, if you think of it as a clock around you, where would, at what point can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury where your badge would be?
Like 11 o'clock. Okay. So just to kind of in front of my left pants pocket.
Okay. And were you wearing a jacket over that area?
I was wearing a jacket that day.
Do you know if it was covering it or not?
No, I don't know if it was covering it at that moment. I I don't remember if my jacket was zipped or not, and it's February, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if my jacket is zipped or not.
In terms of seeing the badge, you didn't pull it out and show it or anything?
I did not.
Okay. You just said police.
Yes.
And what happened from there?
Christine responded first. Christine said, Brendan, he has a knife.
Now, before she said that, could you tell, did you see any weapons at that point?
I didn't see a weapon. I didn't see a weapon at my initial viewing of the scene in that first couple seconds.
And after Christine said that to you, were you able to identify it?
I observed that there was something silver in Joe Ryan's right hand, but it was still difficult to see, as part of it would be in his grip and part of it seemed to be inside of Christine's hair.
Okay, and I think you'd said previously, did Christine have long hair?
Christine had pretty long hair that goes down past the middle of her back. It's a curly, thick brown. She had a lot of hair.
Okay. Now, just so we're clear, when at the time that you said police, what was the position of Joe Ryan and what was the position of Christine?
Joe Ryan was also on the floor. I would say that he was in a kneeling position, on the floor, partially behind Christine, partially behind the bed.
Okay, and is the bed high?
The bed is, I would say the bed is very high for a lot of people. It has storage dressers underneath the bed, and there was a foundation under it, and then the mattress itself is a thick mattress too.
Okay, so from your vantage, have you changed your vantage point? I think you'd said one step into the room.
Yeah, I had only basically gone one, maybe two steps into the room, and I didn't go further at that point.
Now, when you said police, what, if anything, did Joe Ryan say to you?
Joe Ryan didn't say something until after I told him to drop the knife.
Okay. And what was his response?
He told me to drop my gun.
And at that point, was there, well, let me ask you this. You saw a knife there. What were you thinking in terms of Joe Ryan with a knife to Christine's neck?
I was extremely terrified. I don't know that I've ever been more panicked in my life.
And so what were you thinking that you needed to do?
I was hoping to de-escalate the situation. I did not want to shoot him.
Okay.
I wanted him to let her go.
And so after he said you dropped the gun, what did you say?
I repeated to drop the knife and to let her go.
And did he say anything to you?
He did. He told me that she was hers, that she was hers, and that she gave herself to me. And Christine kind of yelled, moaned
Okay.
at this point also.
Okay, I'm sorry, you said she was hers?
She was his, sorry. She was his.
Can you say the whole statement of what you
He said that she was his and that she gave herself to him, to me, she gave herself to me is what he said.
Okay. I'm sorry, I interrupted. What happened then?
Christine kind of yelled or moaned, or both, and it seems that she went to her left, my right a little bit.
Okay. Now, when she yelled or moaned, what did that indicate to you?
I thought that she was being injured, being stabbed.
Did you see him stab her?
It appeared that he was putting forward movement towards, or it seemed that he was putting forward movement towards with the knife, but I couldn't see Christine's neck or face really at that point. Her hair was in the way.
Okay. So if you can, explain for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why it was you couldn't see Christine's face or her neck.
Christine's hair was, I would describe as kind of wild at this point. Not normally it's brushed and straight, or, well, not really. I mean, it's still curly, but, you know, it's more kept. It was kind of large and frizzy at this point, and I couldn't really see very well.
Okay. And so I interrupted you. So well, go ahead and tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what you were following up with.
I'm sorry, I don't.
So you indicated in your previous answer that you couldn't see whether or not he had stabbed her in the neck or made contact with the neck.
Correct.
Okay. And that she had made some sort of a sound and pulled away.
Yes, so she kind of moved to her left and to my right, but my best guess is that he had a grip on maybe the back of her neck, maybe the back of her hair. I can't see his left hand at this point. And so she did not really go anywhere.
Did she appear to be injured greater than what you thought when you saw her?
It appeared that she had some amount of, I believe that she had some amount of blood in her hair at this point.
From where you could see it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me just ask you this. Other than your training, had you ever shot a person before?
I had never used my firearm outside of a range situation.
And just to clarify my question, it sounds like you had shot somebody in training. You just did training, correct?
I did not shoot anybody in training. I have not used my weapon in duty at any point, or the only time I had used my firearm was at a gun range or at training.
Okay. Was that a concern for you while you were in the moment?
There wasn't a lot of space between Joe and Christine. I was very fearful of hitting Christine.
And so what if anything, when the time came, well, were you considering using your firearm?
Yes.
At what point did that start?
I mean, very quickly in the situation, but there's only, his head isn't far from Christine's head. I guess his part of his body is partially behind Christine's body. Part of his body is behind the bed. It's a very tight situation.
Okay. And so you delayed from your first instinct?
Judge, objection is to leading.
What, if anything, did you do then?
I'll sustain the objection.
I mean, I know that I told him to let her go at least one more time, and then I know that I told him that he was going to be under arrest.
Okay.
I missed that. At some point, he asked for me to leave, and at a different point, he asked for himself to leave.
And what did you say to those requests?
At that point, that was when I told him that he was under arrest.
Okay. Can you explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what, if anything, took place that caused you to discharge your firearm?
It appeared that he did a very forceful stab towards Christine, and Christine kind of spun away from him. So she was facing towards me, and I guess she rotated as she spun away from him and landed on her stomach on the ground. This kind of had Joe now on his knees, kind of facing Christine, of which I saw him do a downward stabbing stroke, and that's when I fired at him.
And when you fired, were you able to determine whether or not you made contact?
I didn't know where I made contact, but I believed that I made contact as he moved.
Okay.
He moved backwards, He moved backwards a little bit away from Christine. At that point.
And what did you do?
I immediately hurried towards Christine, and I actually stepped over her, and I told her to stay down as I stepped over her. I did this so that I could look at Joe Ryan and see if he was still a threat.
And what, if anything, did you see when you went over there?
I saw the knife on the floor.
Okay. Was that the first time you saw the knife in its full?
That was the first time I could fully see the knife. The other times, it was in his grip and obscured by Christine's hair.
And the knife that you saw is the same knife that you've seen in the Commonwealth's photos?
Yes.
Okay. At some point, did you help Christine?
At that moment, I did not help Christine yet. I used my foot and dragged the knife towards me with my toe to move the knife away from Joe.
Okay, so if you can, so that there's an image in their minds, can you explain from stepping over Christine to doing what you just said with the knife?
I probably need to take another step or two to get closer to Joe. The knife was still was very close to Joe. It's like I reached my right foot forward. I still had my gun pointed at him. So I reached my right foot forward and I guess stuck my toe out and dragged it back towards me so that it was not next to him.
Okay. And what would you say the distance was where the knife was when you first touched it with your foot? I'm sorry, the distance from Joe Ryan when you first touched it with your foot?
Not more than a foot and a half.
Okay. And when you removed it from the area around him, how far was it from Joe Ryan?
Maybe 5 or 6 feet, but immediately next to me.
Okay. So what did you do then next?
I didn't notice that Joe was moving. And
Well, let me ask you this. Did you ever touch Joe?
I never touched Joe at any point during this encounter.
Okay. And when you moved the knife, what did you then, what happened next?
I turned around and faced Christine. And I kneeled down next to her.
Okay. And what was her position at the time that you kneeled down next to her?
At that point, she was on her stomach. She was kind of writhing back and forth, kind of rolling back and forth. And I guess at some point, pretty quickly, she rolled over onto her back.
Was that with your assistance?
At that point, she was doing that on herself. I don't think that I helped her roll onto her back.
Okay. What, if anything, were you doing to assist her at that point?
So she was holding her neck. And she told me that she couldn't see. And I asked her to let me see, indicating that her hand was covering her neck. And she very shakily removed her hand from her neck, and I could see the wound on the right side of her neck.
Okay. And what, if anything, did you do at that point?
She told me to put my hand there, and she had put her hand back on her neck, and then I put my left hand on top of her hand, but she pulled her hand from underneath mine and put her hand back on top of my hand and put pressure on my hand, I think indicating that she wanted more pressure on the wound.
And did you do that?
Yes, I had.
Okay.
I had my hands on hers, trying to apply pressure.
And she was helping you?
Yes.
And so at that point, had you asked Juliana to call 911?
At that point, I noticed that Juliana was in the room. And I told Juliana to both call 911, and I told her to watch him, meaning indicating to Joe.
So the position that you were in when you were attending to Christine, where was it in relation to Joe at the last time you saw him?
Joe was behind me, I wasn't facing Joe. I was kneeling down with Christine in front of me. I guess my body orientation would be towards the master bathroom.
Okay. And what if anything happened next?
Juliana she looked like she was stunned, but after I told her to call 911 and watch him, she seemed to dart forward and went into the master bathroom.
Okay. And did you ask her to do that?
No.
Do you know what she was doing?
I mean, I know what she was doing now, but I don't think I was thinking about what she was doing at that second.
That's what I'm asking, is what was she did you know what she was doing at that time?
I don't think that's what I was thinking about
Okay.
I don't think I was thinking about what she was doing at that time.
Now, what happened next?
Christine told me that she was bleeding out and that she was sorry and that she loved me.
And what did you tell her?
It was at this point that there was another shot. And I looked up and I saw that Juliana had my other firearm, and I was stunned that Juliana had shot.
Okay. Did you, where was she in relation to where you were?
She was in front of the master bathroom door. There's kind of a double door.
And so, how far do you think she was from you when you shot?
Not very far.
When she shot?
Not very far at all. Maybe 4 or 5 feet.
Was there any indication as to why she shot prior to shooting?
I didn't hear her say anything prior to. I didn't hear her say anything prior to her shooting.
Now, at any point, do you recall Joe Ryan touching you?
So this was at roughly the same time as the shot. I don't exactly know, if I would assume maybe almost simultaneously. Joe Ryan struck me in my shoulder, like the back part of my shoulder blade.
And did you see him do that?
I did not see him do that.
How did you know it was him?
Well, he's the only person behind me. There's no one else behind me.
And after you felt that, was that when Juliana shot?
To me, those all seem to be within the same second. It's hard to say exactly.
Okay. Now, when you were, so you were tending to Christine prior to Juliana shooting, correct?
Yes.
Were you able to maintain whatever it was you were doing for Christine?
I don't know exactly why, but my reaction to being hit and Juliana shooting was to stand up, and I stood up and turned around and looked at Joe.
Okay.
Joe was then further back, closer to the wall, and partially on the dog bed.
Now, did you make sure that he was not getting up again?
I looked at him. He he did not appear to be moving at that point.
Okay. What did you then do?
I yelled for Juliana to call 911 again, and I turned back around and went back to Christine.
Now, do you know what Juliana did with the gun that she used to shoot Joe Ryan?
At some point, I know she put it on the bed.
Did you observe that?
I don't think I observed her putting it on the bed.
Okay. And the gun that Juliana shot Joe Ryan with wasn't the gun that you have, correct?
No, the gun that I shot Joe Ryan with was my duty weapon, a Glock 19M, and the gun that Juliana took out of the safe was a Glock 43X.
Now, the gun that you used to shoot Joe, was that put back in the holster?
I did not put my gun back in the holster. I put it on the ground next to me. Basically just right at my side, kind of where I was kneeling.
So where, in terms of position, when you were tending to Christine, what position were you facing?
I was facing Christine towards the master bathroom door, and yeah.
And so when you put your gun down in order to aid her, to what direction did you put the gun down?
I put it to my right, so it was in between me and the bed.
And to the best of your recollection, do you know where it was in terms of in relation to the corner of the bed?
It's pretty close to the back left corner of the bed. There wasn't too much space between me and the bed at this point.
And can you just tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in terms of time that morning, after you put that gun down, what did you do?
Well, when I put the gun down, that's when I had originally started aid to Christine, and that was when I asked her to show me the wound, and then we had kind of both put our hands on the wound.
Okay. Now, did there come a time when you instructed Juliana to call 911?
I had instructed Juliana to call 911 at least twice.
Okay. And did there come a time where you realized that, when you were wondering what was going on with 911?
She seemed to be, after she shot, she seemed to be stunned and just standing there, not doing anything. And I yelled at her to call 911 again.
Okay. And do you know if she followed your...
At that point, she seemed to come out of her trance, and I know that she started working on her phone.
Now, why didn't you call 911?
I had a significant amount of blood on my hands, and I was trying to help Christine. And also, we're trained that if there's others around, if you can have them call 911 or assist you, that is something that you would instruct them to do.
So from inside the room, please describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how that 911 how you came to be talking on the 911 call.
Juliana seemed to be pacing, kind of in front of the TV area of the bedroom and kind of moving towards the master bedroom door. She called 911, but when she called, she really wasn't saying anything. She was kind of stumbling over her words.
And so what, if anything, did you do?
I heard that she was on the call with 911. And I could hear the 911 operator asking questions, and so I answered the questions, of my home location and I guess briefly what had happened.
And what did you say?
I believe I said that there was a man that had stabbed my wife and that I had shot him. And I identified myself as an officer, gave my address. Yeah.
Okay. And at that point, were you still rendering aid to Christine?
Yes, we had spoke slightly more also during that time. She was coughing, and blood had come out of her mouth, and so I knew that that's possible for people to choke on blood, and so I told her I was going to roll her on her side, and she did, and so we did, and so I did that, and she seemed to know that that was also the right thing to do.
Okay. And so she was able to help you roll her over?
Yeah, so I rolled, so I guess it would be kind of slightly away from me, slightly more towards the master bathroom door and further away from the bed.
Now, in the time frame that we've just talked about, did you ever get a point where you had a better idea of the wounds that were on Christine's neck?
After Juliana shot, and I went back to Christine. Once again, I put my hand on her hand, but she slid her hand from underneath mine and put it on top of mine. And actually my finger went inside of her neck. And that made me realize how badly she was hurt.
Now, with regard to when the hands were removed off of the neck, was there any indication as to how badly she was hurt in terms of anything?
I'm sorry, could you say it again?
In terms of, once you took your hands off of her neck, did that give you any indication of the extent of the wounds?
Yeah, I could see I saw the length of the wound, and the fact that part of my finger actually went inside of hers before I quickly moved my hand out.
Were you able to, and so were you able to continue compression?
I did try, I would say that both of us continued to try compression. Probably also just before she rolled over, I realized that she was holding her hand on the other side of her neck too. I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that previously.
And so what side of the neck are you talking about now?
I was helping her with the right side of her neck, and she had her left hand on her left side of her neck.
Okay, so she was tending to herself on the left side of the neck?
Yeah, I didn't notice that originally.
Okay, did you assist her then at that point?
I did not put my other hand around her I did not put my other hand around her at that point. It was, I don't know, I guess we were focused, I was talking to her, and I guess I was a little bit more focused on that.
Okay. And in talking to her, did she assist you in any, in terms of how you could help her?
Basically, she had indicated that, she had told me that she, in her words and with her hands, that, she wanted more pressure. After my finger had gone into her neck, I guess I tried to close my hand a little bit around the skin to try to, I don't know, I guess try to close the wound as much as possible, but it didn't seem to be doing anything.
Okay, and in terms of the blood, when you took your hand off of her wound, what did you see? In the beginning, you could see that the blood was I guess partially shooting out, and it was going through her fingers. But later on, that wasn't what was happening any longer. Okay. And what, if anything, did you observe, and what did you do?
This was back to putting pressure and covering the wound. And
now, did there come a time when the first responders arrived?
yes, after some time, the first responders arrived. I know that Juliana left the room at some point, and I know that I heard her go down the stairs. I think that 911 had instructed her to open the door. At a different point on the 911 call, the 911 operator advised to get towels. And Juliana, this was before opening the door, Juliana went into the master bathroom and came back with towels also.
Now, had you been using anything when the 911 operator suggested towels, clean towels, things like that?
So I guess originally I guess I stopped doing pressure when the 911 operator recommended to use towels. And at that point, I grabbed the comforter that was kind of all around me, and I used the comforter, part of the comforter on her neck for a little bit.
Okay. And did there come a time where you moved to something different, or what?
When Juliana gave me the towels, I kind of tossed the comforter behind me and used a towel.
Okay. Now, what, if anything, did you do after that?
I know that there was a point that I rechecked Christine's pulse. So I had to remove the towel, and I saw that, it wasn't really as covered in blood anymore, and the blood was, the pulse was significantly weaker. And I checked her pulse with my hand. Her pulse, she still had a pulse, but it felt slow and weak compared to when I had my hand previously.
Now, if you can, and do you have any idea, or can you give the ladies and gentlemen of the jury any indication as to, from the time you shot Joe Ryan to the time the first responders arrived, how long that was?
It's hard. It's very difficult to say. It felt like an extremely long time. I don't know. You're not really thinking about how long it really takes, but the wait on the 911 call felt like it was forever.
After you testified, you stood up after Juliana shot Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
Was there any time between the moment you went back to Christine and the time the first responders arrived that you weren't next to Christine?
After I stood up, I spent the rest of my time kneeling next to Christine, and I did not get up from next to Christine until first responders arrived and instructed me that they were going to take over.
Okay, well, let's go to that point. What was the first thing that you realized that the police were there, or fire, or whomever?
I know that I heard Juliana yelling to come up here. And I heard many footsteps and people arriving.
And from your position of rendering aid, how did you move from that position?
So I was facing Christine and facing towards the master bathroom, and I was instructed to go into the master bathroom.
When you went, okay, sorry, go ahead.
I think I was standing relatively near for a few seconds before they instructed me to go into the master bathroom.
And when you relinquished first aid duties to the first responders, was Christine still breathing?
Yes, Christine was still breathing.
And her pulse was still positive?
Yes, she was still alive, very much.
Okay. Now, when you were taken away by the first
Mr. Carroll, is
responders.
this a good time to have the morning break?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take our 15-minute morning break. Please do not discuss the case with anybody and don't do any outside research. You can come straight to the stand, Mr. Banfield. All right. Are we ready for the jury?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your next question, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, we left off at the point when you were being told to let the first responders take care of